There is a particular kind of experience that disabled people describe so consistently it has its own name in the medical literature: diagnostic overshadowing. It's when a doctor looks at a patient with a known disability and attributes every new symptom, every new complaint, to the disability they already know about. The headaches? That's your condition. The fatigue? That's expected. The chest pain? Probably anxiety related to your diagnosis. The result is that real, separate, treatable medical problems get missed, sometimes for years, sometimes with permanent consequences. This is one form of medical discrimination against disabled patients. It is not the only form. There is also inaccessible equipment, exam tables that cannot be lowered, imaging machines that cannot accommodate power wheelchairs, offices that technically have a ramp but have never once had a scale a wheelchair user can actually use. There is communication discrimination, the provider who addresses a patient's companion instead of the patient, the staff who speaks slowly and loudly to a physically disabled person who has no hearing or cognitive impairment whatsoever. None of this is legal. All of it happens constantly, and most patients have no idea what their rights actually are inside a medical setting, or what to do when those rights are violated. That is what this episode is about. I'm Drew. This is Disability.co. Three federal laws create the legal framework for disability rights in healthcare settings. The first is Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. This predates the ADA by nearly 2 decades and applies specifically to entities that receive federal financial assistance, which includes virtually every hospital, clinic, and medical practice that accepts Medicare or Medicaid. Under Section 504, those entities cannot discriminate against patients on the basis of disability. The second is the Americans with Disabilities Act. Title II covers public hospitals and health departments. Title III covers private medical practices, clinics, dental offices, and most healthcare facilities open to the general public. Under the ADA, these providers must ensure that disabled patients have equal access to the services they offer, which means accessible facilities, accessible equipment, and effective communication with patients who have hearing, vision, or speech disabilities. The third is Section 1557 of the Affordable Care Act. It prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability by any health program or activity that receives federal financial assistance, which covers the vast majority of healthcare providers, insurers, and health plans in the United States. Section 1557 also explicitly addresses health insurance discrimination. Insurers covered by this provision cannot use disability status as a basis for denying coverage, charging higher premiums, or imposing benefit limits that apply only to disabled enrollees. So what does this legal framework translate to in a real medical appointment? Accessible medical equipment, height-adjustable exam tables, accessible weight scales, accessible imaging equipment. If a provider's office cannot physically examine you because their equipment doesn't accommodate your body or your mobility device, that is an ADA compliance failure. You can name it as such. Your exam table cannot accommodate me. What is your accessible examination option? That question puts the obligation back where it belongs. Effective communication. If you are deaf or hard of hearing, your provider is required to provide qualified interpreters, not a staff member who took 2 semesters of sign language in college, not a family member who happens to be with you. A qualified interpreter, or other appropriate auxiliary aids, at no cost to you. If you have a speech disability, they must give you time and alternative means to communicate. If you have a vision disability, they must provide information in accessible formats. These are required accommodations, and the cost falls on the provider, not the patient. Communication directed at you, not at your companion. A provider who speaks to the person accompanying a disabled patient when that patient is fully capable of participating in their own care is engaging in a form of discrimination. You have the right to be the primary party in conversations about your own health care. If a provider redirects to your companion, Redirecting them back is completely appropriate. I'm the patient. Please speak with me directly. That sentence is your right. The right to full clinical information. Diagnostic overshadowing is the medical term. The practical experience is a provider who dismisses symptoms, rushes through appointments, or provides less thorough care because they have already decided your condition explains everything. You are entitled to the same standard of diagnostic investigation as any other patient. If you believe a new symptom is being attributed to your known disability without adequate investigation, you can say so explicitly. I want this symptom evaluated independently of my existing diagnosis. And if a provider consistently fails to meet this standard, you have the right to request a second opinion, to request a referral to a specialist, and to change providers. Insurance discrimination operates differently from provider discrimination, and the remedies are different. Under Section 1557 and the Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act, health insurers that receive federal funding cannot use disability status to deny coverage for medically necessary services, cannot impose benefit limits that apply only to certain diagnoses, and must provide mental health and substance use disorder benefits at parity with medical and surgical benefits. Your insurer cannot cover 50 physical therapy visits for a broken leg and cap mental health treatment at 6 sessions. That disparity is a parity violation. When an insurer denies a claim or a prior authorization for a service your provider has recommended, you have the right to appeal. Every insurer is required to have an internal appeals process. If the internal appeal fails, you have the right to an external independent review by a reviewer who is not employed by the insurer. For Medicaid, there are state fair hearing rights that operate similarly. Appeal in writing, keep copies of everything, and document the medical necessity argument your provider is making on your behalf. Most denials that get appealed get reversed. Most people don't appeal because they don't know they can. That is exactly what the insurer is counting on. When a provider or insurer violates your rights and the direct conversation hasn't resolved it, you have concrete escalation paths. For healthcare discrimination under Section 504 and Section 1557, the federal enforcement body is the Office for Civil Rights within the Department of Health and Human Services. Filing a complaint is free. You have 180 days from the discriminatory act. The OCR investigates, can mandate corrective action, and can refer cases for further enforcement. For ADA violations in a provider's office, the Department of Justice handles enforcement, and private lawsuits are also available. Disability rights legal organizations in most states offer free consultations and reduced fee representation for cases involving healthcare discrimination. The National Disability Rights Network can connect you with protection and advocacy organizations in your state, most of which have healthcare discrimination expertise. The through line of this episode is simple. You are a patient, not a passive recipient of whatever care a provider decides you deserve. You have federal legal protections in healthcare settings. You have the right to accessible equipment, effective communication, and the same standard of clinical investigation as any other patient. You have the right to push back on diagnostic overshadowing, on being spoken around rather than spoken to, on coverage denials that don't hold up under scrutiny. The most practical habit you can develop: document your medical encounters. After appointments where something felt wrong, write down what happened, the date, the provider's name, what was said and what was not done. If your symptoms were dismissed, write down exactly what you reported and exactly what the response was. That documentation is what transforms a general sense that something went wrong into a specific, actionable complaint. It is also what makes you a credible advocate for yourself in subsequent appointments with that same provider. That's the framework. Know your rights, document everything, and don't accept being managed. You're a patient, not a passive recipient. The system was not built with you in mind, but the law is on your side. Use it. I'm Drew. This has been Disability.co.